Hey, everybody. Welcome in. Welcome in. Just a second here. I'm trying to make sure that I am, in fact, live. That is not. Yes, there we go. Okay. So I'm watching on my tablet here, just to make sure we've got what we need here. So my last video, or where we were tying up rigs, one of the things that I mentioned about crimp rigs on circle hooks is the fact that they can wobble back and forth like so. So you lose the ability to use that quote trigger action. And there went another bead down. That's okay. So I'll show you what I've done here with this one here. Just a second. Okay, so for my saltwater, for sharks, they have a very their skin. If you rub it like head to tail, it's it feels smooth. If you rub it from tail to head, it's very rough and like feels like sand. So I do have some wire leader here. What I did was I just ran it through the front of the eye, around the hook once, and then back through the eye again, and then crimped it off. So that should, that still gives me the trigger action, and it's not flipping back and forth on that. So anyway, just something that I've played with and thought I would share. And I do have it set to subscriber only mode, but there's no time limit. It's just basically to try to keep the trolls out. Appreciate everybody joining, of course. And today we're going to be working on just tying up some rigs. Not the most exciting thing in the world, I understand that, but that's the reason we have chat. Everybody can start chatting, and we can talk about pretty much anything under the sun. So, what I'm working with here is, so I've got some 7/0, well, I'm starting with anyway, 7/0 Cat Max circle hooks. So in saltwater, in a lot of areas and for different species, you can only use a non-offset / inline hook. And a second here, I'll grab an offset hook and we can talk about the differences. Okay. So in my right hand, I have a non-offset hook. In my left hand, I have an offset hook. And the difference is that there we go, it's a better vision. So you can see how this hook, when you look at the point and you look back to the shank, it's all straight, whereas this is offset. So there's no way that you can twist it to make the point and the shank in the same vertical plane. Hey, Tara. Hey, East Tennessee Whiskers. Appreciate Tara. Thanks for coming in. So in a lot of areas for saltwater, you cannot use an offset hook. Now, that does not discuss the difference of the eyes. So this particular one has a bent eye and this has a straight eye. That is not what we're talking about. We're talking about the shank versus the point and whether they're in the same plane or not. So when I make my rigs for saltwater, which of course can be used in freshwater, there's no difference, but I mark them, put a little S in the corner, show what hook size is, what the pound test of the line is, and these are 4 mil thick, 3 by 5 inch bags. They're not going to keep the point from protruding through, but it's a lot better than 2 mil bags. Just heads up on that. So we're going to be using 60-pound line for these. I do have some 40, some 60, and some 100. And actually, if I didn't knock it off, and I think I did, I'm going to grab that piece. So I made a mistake yesterday. I was spooling up my reels, or not spooling them, but tying on. Tying on some FG knots and creating mono leaders to go on my braid line. And those I like to keep, 10, 15 feet, because that way you've got a shock leader, basically. Appreciate it, Tara. So one of those I'd actually tied on 40-pound mono inadvertently instead of the 60-pound mono that I wanted for that shock leader, because it was on like 65-pound braid. So that was kind of a moot point. So what we're going to do here is we're going to be just using the no knot Snell. Real simple. I call this the front of the hook, point side, whatever. So you go through the front of the hook and you wrap, well, no, you don't wrap, you pull the tag end down and you wrap around the shank, but you wrap on the side that has the bend, or it's solid wire, not the point where the wire ends and kind of rolls back into the shank. So you roll this about 5, 6, 7, whatever times makes you happy. And like so. And like I said, this is a big long piece because I had done this yesterday. So we snip that off. We take the standing end, which is where the swivel will go. We go through the back of the hook, or the back of that eye. I'm going to try pushing these up a little bit and try to do the improved version of this knot. And I just posted a video about it a few minutes ago. And basically what the whole idea is that you come through the eye and you also go through that first wrap that you have on the line around the shank. And then you pull everything tight. There we go. Like so. And grab my trusty dusty pliers here. And give it a good pull. And now there's no pushing the line back through and untying the knot. Hey, Michael Grumpy Vet. Appreciate you being here. And this also allows you to cut the tag end shorter because you don't have to worry about that knot trying to come loose. So there we go. And then grab a number 1 size eagle claw swivel. And we're just going to do an improved clinch knot, which you go through the eye, you come back around and you wrap this 4 or 5 times around the line. You go back through that loop that was created when you put it through the eye, and then you come back through the big loop that you just created by putting the line through there. You edit. You kind of hold both ends, you slide down, grab it with the pliers, grab a little hook or a rig puller, and you pull that tight. Come back and you cinch this down. You can a little bit lubricate it so it doesn't rub up against itself and get a little too warm and abrade itself. So there we go. There's our leader. It's got probably, it was right around 17 inches from the hook to the swivel. Now, another thing I want to talk about. So I got, there it is. I got some leaders from Anthony J from a giveaway that I won, and his sinker slides have this little tab on them. The ones I usually have do not. Never really knew what that tab was for, but what I believe is it's for, so you would tie your swivel on here. I'll just do a quick overhand knot because we're not going to be casting it or anything. So here's your leader. You put your weight on here. This is an 8-ounce bank sinker. Let's hope that granny knot holds. Okay, so here's your rig, right? Put your bait on your hook, and then you can take the hook, easier said than done, and hook it on there, right? And what this is going to accomplish is, as you cast it, right, the gravity is going to work towards your favor, and you're going to have your bait and your sinker right up here together. And then, of course, as it hits the water, you know, everything comes loose. So I believe that's what the purpose of it is, and because if you watch any of the European, especially English, fishing folks, one of the rigs they use is a pulley rig, and the general idea of that is much the same to that, so that you keep the bait and the weight even with each other while you're casting, so it doesn't flip-flop in the air. Hey, Britton, good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, Rude, good to see you as well. So, trying to decide if I'm going to switch to this kind or not. I think I am, because I like that feature. If you've ever had a heavy sinker and a heavy piece of bait, and you casted it, tried to get some distance out of it, they just kind of, they go end over end, and you lose a lot of the distance because of that energy loss. So in my little baggie, I put the sinker slide. I like to use these silicone beads to protect the knot. So when you rig it up, you'll put the bead on. I'm sorry, you'll put the sinker slide on, you'll put the bead, and then you'll tie the swivel to your main line. Hey, Fat Cat, good to see you, my friend. And then everything's in a nice little baggie. I know what's in there before I open it up. And the S I put on there is for saltwater. It does; these can be used in freshwater. It just tells me if it's an offset hook or not. Because my offset hooks I only want to use in freshwater, so I don't have to worry about running afoul of the nice folks in the DNR outfits. I'm kind of doing this backwards because, like I say, I've got this big piece of line. I should have already cut it. And got one of my little cups of stuff on there. And there are, of course, many different ways to tie a snell knot. It comes down to what works best for you. If you have both ends available, then this no knot snell is kind of it's a good option. Like I say, with that improvement of being able to run it through the line, that first wrap right here, run it through there, and then run it from the into the back of the eye. And then grab your tag in, pull your standing end, wraps up nicely. And again, that it can come through here, but even so, it's still not coming loose on the snell part. And it depends on which side of that first wrap you hit when you come through the eye. A lot of times it won't even push it at all. So there's that. And again, do an improved clinch knot here. I'm not really doing anything exciting. I realize that. I'm just tying some knots and that kind of stuff. Hey, Ashley Brady. Good to see you. Hey, NJ Fishing Maniac. I appreciate it, man. Appreciate the like. It's it's gonna be sad when the second half rolls around and the Chiefs, come out of their slumber as they always do, and send your pretty Eagles home crying. And I say that tongue in cheek. I don't really care about football. Um, we all know I'm a contrarian, so I always vote for the other side. There we go. That knot was still slipping a little bit. I had to get it good and set. And there we are. We'll cut off the tag end down here at the bottom. And move that way. Tilt us down just a little bit. Well, we can see a little bit more of what's going on here. Grab our little baggie. And let's see. Hey, Skipjack Cindy, good to see you, dear. Good to see you. Hey, good to see you as well. Troy from Adventure America. Hope you and the missus are having a wonderful Super Bowl Sunday and that y'all are having some fun out there in Texas. And throw that in my bin. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're just tossing rigs. Get these are 7-aught hooks. I got some 5-aught hooks. I got some 10-aught hooks. Just tying rigs. And the reason for pre-tying them like this is so when you get broken off, which is going to happen, you've got everything ready to go, because chances are you've lost your swivel, and in addition to the weight and the hook and all that. So this has everything all ready to go. You tie the one knot, you tie the swivel on the main line, and you're done. And we're trying to get under that first rope and through the eye. And there we go. Everything's good and tight. When it comes to fishing pliers, you have a lot of different choices. One brand that I really like is Danco. They come with a little sheath and a little tether and all that kind of stuff. They're not inexpensive. These are titanium coated stainless steel. These are, let's say, the 7-inch. They sell 6 and 7. This may be a 7.5 jaw. Or not jaw. Yeah, they're 7.5-inch pliers. These are kind of big, but they're good and strong. Black Friday, they have a sale every year. It's usually half off of anything in the store. Great time to pick up, a few pair of those pliers. Real impressed with them. They're heavy duty. I've not had a pair fail. You can get, and when they have them half off, then they're getting down into the prices of stuff that you're going to get for the cheap aluminum pliers at Bass Pro or Academy, etc. And Cindy, I went to Academy earlier to pick up the 2 rods I told you about. But while I was there, I looked at their other clearance stuff and spent another almost $40 on clearance stuff. Got all kinds of neat stuff. I did a video on that. If you get bored, you can watch that. Academy typically has better sales, definitely than Bass Pro Shop. Often better than Walmart, and they tend to mark their sales stuff a little better. Walmart, I went today and I scanned a few rods to see what was on sale and what wasn't. They had some ugly sticks that were on clearance at Walmart but they were mediums, not medium heavies, so I didn't bother. But it was the GX2 ugly sticks. So I picked up a couple of those from Academy. From Academy, I got the combo. Not that I'm, feel like I'm going to be impressed with the Ugly Stick brand rods. Because Ugly Stick is one of the few things that Shakespeare has done right, in my opinion. Most of the time, Shakespeare is a budget brand. And isn't necessarily a bad thing, but their Ugly Sticks have been just a shining addition to their products. I mean, the Ugly Sticks they've been around for 30 years easily. Actually, probably over 40. And they're just a good quality rod for the price. Most of the Ugly Sticks are going to be a fiberglass. They do make a carbon series, graphite series in the Ugly Stick line, but I've never used one of those. And I remember the first time I saw one of the Ugly Sticks in my local tackle shop back home. I was a kid, and the owner showed them to me, and they were, I want to say they were 10, 15, 20 bucks, which, in the mid to late 70s was a lot of money, especially for me. So I never had one. I think this is probably going to be my first Ugly Stick, actually. Let's see. Everybody saying hi. I appreciate you guys being here. I really do. We all try to support each other, and I appreciate that support from everybody. As we all try to grow our channels and get through the YouTube hurdles to get monetized, all that fun stuff. If the weather had been a lot less cold today, I was planning to do a couple of product reviews. I've got a kayak cart from Vivor that I've been wanting to do a review on, and also some a small modification that I've got in mind to make it work a little better on the Old Town Sportsman, because it has the uprights, but the Old Town Sportsman has such deep grooves where those uprights fit through, that it can be just not quite tall enough. So had some ideas I wanted to play with, but like I said, it's cold up there. My dear Ashley was signed up for an 8K in the woods, in the rain, with the temperature under 40 degrees. She finished that 8K, which is about a little over 5 miles, or right at 5 miles, I don't know, something like that. She finished it in like an hour and 1 minute. I had her, based on the terrain and everything, I figured it was going to be like a 15-minute mile for her. Nope. I was out running errands. I was like, oh, let me go hang out at the finish line. Probably get 15, 20 minutes till she comes through. I got there and her friend came through. And just as I could say, how far behind is I? She's like, she's right there. So all I got was a picture. I didn't even get a video of her crossing the finish line because I just couldn't get things going that fast. But anyway, very proud of her. She's been doing great. Yeah, Academy is an excellent store. They were family owned. I assume still are. When I lived in Dallas, I used to go there regularly, and the people that they have working for them were just really good people. I mean, they're really helpful, and you could sit and you could talk. fishing until you get blue in the face. And in Memphis, I'm not having that experience. But I can also say that Memphis does not have, how do I politely say this? A great workforce. I mean, I would say work ethic everywhere has dropped in the last 20 years. So there's that. But Memphis work ethic is not. Anyway, we'll leave it at that. I mean, like getting fast food here is interesting sometimes. But I'm sure the rest of the country is having similar changes in unskilled labor quality. You know, like when I go in there, there's always a wait at the gun counter, which are also typically the guys doing that are there for the fishing stuff too. So, and I've been disappointed in Academy's website many times. Their mobile app, I hate it. But as an example, so they've got kayaks, which are it's a rebranded, I think, Riot kayak, which is, you know, it's a budget brand and all that kind of stuff. But like the level of information on this kayak was just not there. You know, the things like, I don't know if it was weight capacity or the weight of it or how the weight capacity was figured. It just, there was a lot of, there's just not enough information. Welcome in, Cade. So, I mean, like when I lived in Dallas, I actually wanted to apply to work at Academy on weekends for just to have something to do. But I was married and had a kid, and I was a young kid. So, you know, it wasn't like I had this plethora of spare time. But everybody there was just always, were always nice. Remember about 20 years ago, they had a clearance sale on scopes. And somebody alerted me to it, not from the store, but just a friend told me about it. And I went down there and I bought like $1,500 worth of scopes and put them on eBay and sold them and made a good profit because, you know, they were on sale for half price or less, and they were good quality Bushnell. Yeah, and people would ask me, you know, questions like, "What kind of reticle does this have?" And I'm like, I don't even know what a reticle is. I don't know, but you know, looked it up and figured it out because I am not a hunter. I like my guns, but I don't hunt and only use basic scopes. That is nice, Troy, having a place called Roy's Bait and Tackle. They have good brands and great sales sometimes. So that's where it becomes frustrating with, you know, I'm all for supporting your local shops, you know, because without them, you don't have them. Yes, I figured that out all by myself. Um, but a lot of times it's the captive audience issue where, you know, they charge more for the exact same product. Now, you know, given the fact that they have knowledgeable people working there and that they don't have the amount of traffic going through there that big stores do. They don't have the buying power of the big stores. I understand, right? I mean, I'm not, you know, trying to say that they're out there trying to rip us off. I'm just pointing out that they aren't always competitive. And, so that you've got the convenience factor. Um, and yes, I mean, kind of like, movie theaters charge an arm and a leg for refreshments because, well, you're already there and you don't have a lot of options. And, when it comes down to trying to get minnows or something, your local bait store is your option. Um, they not like Walmart carries that kind of stuff. They do carry, of course, night crawlers and that kind of stuff, but um, you don't get the selection from those local shops that you get the big box stores usually. But it is always good to support your local shop whenever you can, because without them, there's a hole in the landscape. There really is, because you can't get everything that you want at Bass Pro Shops. You can get a lot of things at Bass Pro Shops that you can't get at those local stores, but you can get a lot of stuff at the local stores that you can't get at the local Bass Pro Shops. And back to Academy, I would talk, like I said, I would talk to the people that work there, and the employees there, when I was in Dallas, were happy. They liked their employer, um, which is not, that's not an easy thing anymore. A lot of places, a lot of people, workplaces are like, I hate this place, but it pays the bills. They genuinely, liked working there, liked the structure of the company, and anyway, I was quite happy, on another note, when the Sportsman Warehouse buyout by Bass Pro got nixed, because Sportsman's Warehouse is another one of those stores that they don't have everything, but they're competition to stores like Bass Pro. And Bass Pro ain't what it used to be. Especially when they had to compete with Cabela's back before they bought them, merged, whatever you want to call it. You had, the competition is good for the consumer, not necessarily for the company. But I was definitely a big fan of this is getting close. I think my tag in was just too short on this. We'll find out. I think it's going to slip through. It's not, but I can't even feel the tag in. I just don't trust this. Retie it. I remember back, companies like Shimano, who are very price protective. They don't allow you to advertise less than MSRP, or they have a minimum advertised price called MAP pricing. And so to get around that, Bass Pro would, build a combo with the reel and one of their Bass Pro Shops branded rods. Granted, not the greatest rod, but it was still a rod, for the same price as the reel by itself. And as competition dried up, or got bought up. They don't do that anymore. And their giveaway rods were not bad. Like IM8 graphite. Again, 20 years ago. So anyway, like I said, I'm glad that the deal between them and Sportsman's Warehouse didn't go through. I think Johnny Morris has enough money, in my opinion. But especially in Memphis, we have the Bass Pro Shops in the Pyramid, and that's an interesting debacle in and of itself. The city of Memphis owned the Pyramid, and it was originally built because Memphis, Tennessee's sister city, is Memphis, Egypt. So, I mean, how can we not have a pyramid, right? So they built this pyramid. It's huge. And I remember when they built it, they put on, it still has a reflective style glass on it, or at least privacy glass. But the original ones, the sun would hit it and blind drivers on the interstate. So they actually had to change out those panels. It was used as a concert venue, and it was supposed to be under the guise of, if we build it, they will come, for a basketball team. And we actually did get the Grizzlies out of that somehow. Nice, okay. Sure, all the stuff. But part of the agreement of getting them was we had to build them a new stadium. So when they built the new stadium, the Grizzlies, as I understand it, have first right of refusal. Not even first right of refusal, but if you want to have a event, concert that has over 5,000 people, they have to approve it. So we have the FedEx Forum, which is where they play. And so the Grizzlies or the Forum or whoever has the ability to say, no, not in any publicly owned venue. I say public, government owned venue. Can you bring in a concert or other event of more than 5,000 people? Now, that doesn't include the conventions and that kind of stuff, but and again, this is all stuff I've heard and read online, so I can't vouch for the pure accuracy of it, but so like the Memphis Coliseum is now in ruins. Well, or not used. The pyramids had the same problem, and because it was built as a pyramid, using it as a concert venue, the acoustics just weren't very good. From what I've been told, I never actually saw a concert there. So anyway, once the new stadium got built, or arena got built, they couldn't really do anything with the pyramid. And it sat dormant for years. And there's always this reminder of how bad local government is that they allowed all that to happen. Hey, Stink Bug, welcome in, welcome in. So they were trying to find something to do with that pyramid other than just tear it down. But again, it couldn't be used as a concert venue unless you're going to severely limit the number of concert goers. which would make it pretty much unprofitable. And they were looking at different options, and there weren't a lot of people interested. And Bass Pro said, hey, if we can get it cheap enough, put Bass Pro in there and turn the upper areas into, we'll have restaurants, we'll have a hotel. And from what I understand, the hotel's pretty nice. So as you go in there, there's like 2 floors of retail, Bass Pro retail stuff. Fishing, camping, outdoors, whatever, right? They have a small, I want to say 6-lane bowling alley in there. They've got a couple of restaurants. They've got, of course, not only the aquariums that they're known for, but like in the floor built in, I think there's trout in there. There's anyway, it's really it's a neat little area, and as much as people want to talk about the giant Bass Pro and what an eyesore having the Bass Pro logo on the pyramid is, it's a whole lot better than the pyramid just sitting there idle. And the one good thing is that as a concert venue, I don't think it had enough parking, but boy, it does for a Bass Pro. I mean, there's a lot of extra parking available there because it was originally designed to be a concert venue and a basketball arena and whatever else. So there you go. So I'm looking forward to getting out fishing more this year, especially in the kayak. Ashley and we have a tentative date set for the wedding, but she is busy finishing up her schoolwork, getting her master's. She's got one of her kids is graduating high school this year, so going into college, and when figuring out financial aid, they figure the household income versus, or if you're married, then they take the spouse's income rather than the other parent, which seems odd to me, but okay. So anyway, where was I going with that? I was definitely going somewhere. I really don't remember where I was going with that. But, as we look to merge the households and stuff, we're going to be a lot of my stuff that's got to go to the wayside. And that's not a bad thing because I have too much stuff. When we first got together, I was thinking about selling the boat. She's like, no, don't sell the boat. That would be fun. I've been out in it once in 2 years. And I mean, my boat's a nice boat, but it's not a bass boat, which is good because of the fishing I do. But yeah, a bass boat's really easy to get in and out of, off the trailer and that kind of stuff. A deep V is not as easy unless you're Travis and you're a mountain goat. So whereas I used to, when I used to go fishing years ago out of bass boats, and maybe it's also because I was younger, it was hook up the boat and go. And now it's like, well, let's move all the stuff out of the garage, because it is a 7.5 foot boat, so it doesn't fit straight in the garage, even with the foldable tongue. So it's like, move the riding mower out, move the stuff that you've leaned up against the boat because it's been sitting there for idle and all that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to doing the kayak thing. But then, you know, you gotta store the kayak somewhere. And we've been looking to get her one, and I've just got to use mine more before I, you know, before it makes sense to get one for her as well. But anyway, I'm looking forward to doing a lot more fishing out of the kayak this year. Um, and so I think, well, if you don't know, I have a Sportsman 106 Old Town powered by Minn Kota, which is basically it's the autopilot is in the 120, the 12 foot, and the 13 and a half foot. This is the 10 and a half foot version. So it doesn't have the autopilot motor. It's got basically, it's a mid-mount basic trolling motor. It goes forward and reverse. It doesn't, there's no steering via the motor. All that's done through the rudder. The Autopilot 120 and the Autopilot 136 both have the autopilot motor, so you've got spot lock, all that fun stuff in it, and it, you know, you can steer the motor. And I found a dealer that was an old town, they were a boat dealer, they were an old town dealer, and they were clearancing out all of their kayaks because the previous owner or manager, I don't remember which, brought the kayaks in thinking that it would be a good fit for their business, and the new owner slash manager, whichever it was, decided that that didn't make any sense. And when I went to their lot and saw their cheapest boat was probably over $100,000, people's new boat anyway. So, you know, $3,000 to $5,000 kayaks didn't really make a lot of sense to me for what they were doing. Anyway, when I was looking at kayaks, I had been in one, and that's it. Hey, Mike Urban, good to see you. So I didn't know what I wanted. One of the things about not knowing about an item is recognizing that you don't know. Sorry, I'm trying to get tagged and get this piece of mono down here. Is realizing that you don't know what you don't know, and understanding that you don't know what you don't know. It's easy when you, it's easy to say I don't know something, but then it's more difficult when you realize that you don't even know enough about the topic to realize what the breadth of things that you don't know. So the Old Town 106 was the only motorized they had available. Got a really good deal on it. But it was not my first choice. I would have rather had the Autopilot 136, but they'd already gotten rid of all, they already sold out of all of those, or even the Autopilot 120, because I wanted the spot lock and a bigger kayak as well, just because all that. And as I've learned about the kayaks, I've learned things that I do like about it and things that I don't, right? And the other real big contender that I had when I was looking at going with a kayak was the new Canoe Unlimited. It's a, I want to say 12 foot 8 inch kayak, but it is a green field. There's nothing, well, there's not much on it, right? And that's what they were going for. It was, you know, you buy this kayak and you rig it the way you want it. Well, I knew that I didn't know how to rig it. what would be the best way to do this, that, or the other. And the Old Town is very much literally the one thing you need to add to this boat when you buy it is the battery. The wiring is already there, the rudder's already there, the foot control steering for the rudder is already there, the throttle's already, it's all there, right? And as I've gotten to use it, there are things about the Old Town that I want to do differently. But the way that the boat is set up is it's meant to be used in the way they designed it to be used, not the way you want to configure it for yourself. I'll give you some examples. The new Canoe Unlimited has a 360-degree swivel seat. Okay? If you're a little guy and flexible, flipping over onto your knees in the seat so you can reach stuff that's in the back half of the kayak, not a problem. I'm a big guy. I don't much care to go swimming out of a kayak. I've done it once. It wasn't fun. Not in the Old Town. So it's like anything in the back is almost unavailable to me unless I pull up to the shore, hop out the kayak, grab what I need out there, etc. And that goes for the rod holders behind me because, you gotta reach around here and I'm just not as flexible as a young person who exercises more and doesn't eat quite as much. The battery is under the seat. That's where it goes. The battery box is there. It's fit for that area. The kayak was designed to have that battery box sit right there. So you don't have underseat storage. The seat is in a fixed position front to back, right? You can't move it forward or backwards. Well, in the new Canoe, you can. It's on a track system. You can move it forward and back, trim it the way you want. But the new Canoe is, don't quote me, we'll say $18.99. That's just the kayak and the seat. I mean, it's got a bunch of track on it. May have a rod holder or two, I forget, maybe a cup holder or two molded in. But there's no storage, no covered storage. There's no battery box. There's no wiring. You can buy a pod that goes up front that's for the new Canoe. It's fitted, and it fits right in this area, and that's what it's there for. But you don't have to buy that if you don't want to. If you don't want like hatch storage, and it's not really a hatch. It sits on top of the hull in an area, and it's made to fit there. It looks good there, and you've got then mostly dry storage. There's nothing. Dry storage doesn't really exist on a kayak, except in very little quantities, because you've got to seal it up and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it's mostly dry storage. It's a nice little pod, but that's I think $200. There's no rudder with it, but you can buy a rudder with. Rephrase that. No, it doesn't. I don't think it does come with a rudder. But the rudder and the foot control steering, another $400. That's nice. I mean, you get the foot control steering, right? Well, you want to add a motor? Absolutely. It's set to take certain mounts for different types of motors. So you've got to buy the motor mount. That's another $100. Battery box is probably 50-ish. Wiring, another 50 to 100, but you got to run it yourself or have somebody else do it. And one of my big fears was cutting a hole in the hull. The Old Town, they're already there. They cut them. They put the rod, they cut out the hole, put the rod holder down in there, and screwed the rod holder on. Same with the track and all that kind of stuff. Like I said, New Canoe has a ton of track. So, you could put all kinds of different accessories on there without having to drill into the hull. But wiring is one of those things where you've got to drill somewhere. And they actually have access plates, so you can drill holes in those, and that's not an issue. You can replace them for an amount of money of some sort. And as I've gotten to use the Old Town Sportsman 106 powered by Minn Kota, um, there are things about the new canoe that I wish I had. That 360-degree swivel seat would be an absolute game changer for me. Oh, God, I hate that phrase. Game changer. But the reason being is, I can lift my feet up and I could fish out of the side, turn around, grab anything in the back I want. And that almost half the kayak is mostly inaccessible to me when I'm sitting in the seat in the Old Town. I'd have to add a motor, and the motor I'd want to add is the XI3 saltwater edition, which is like $1,600. So when you add it all up, you're like, okay, let's see, 1,900, 400, so 2,300. The pod 2,500 total. Wiring like 26 with the battery box, and then I'm adding another 1,600, so 26, 36, 4,200. A lot of money for a kayak, right? Well, the Old Town 120 Sportsman autopilot is 4,500, I believe. 44 or 45, and the 136 is $5,000. So if I had it to do over, I think I would go with the new canoe. Unlimited. New canoe unlimited. Because for a little less money than the Sportsman 120, I have a lot of other options. And I have been lying to myself this entire time and saying that these are 60 pounds, these are 40 pounds. Oh, Lord, let me go fix these. Yeah, I'm going to have to go through this. Wrote 60 pound on all these, I'll be using 40 pound leader. What else is new? Hey, Laura. Yes, Laura, you are absolutely right about the float tube. Hard to put a motor on one of those. You do have that turning radius. And tell you a story. So when I was in Texas, I was active on a fishing site down there. And one of the guys fished out of a tube. That was pretty much how he fished. And he fished at the local lake I did. And, so I was always interested in what he had to say. And he was talking about, he caught a few crappie. That was his species of choice. I had him on a stringer next to him. And he went, pulled up. He said, there were 2 snakes on it. And granted, there were water snakes. They're not, killer robot venomous snakes, but still. And that was one of the notes for me. I admit to being a sissy when it comes to snakes. I do know my venomous from my non-venomous, and water snakes are fine until they're just right up next to me. Yeah, so that's one of my aversions to float tubes. Another one of my aversions to float tubes is they're inflatable. Okay, let me wrap my head around this. So I'm in this inflatable tube. Okay. I got hooks. I got a knife. I'm bringing in fish that have pointy fins. Yeah. I'm not, and please don't misunderstand me when I say when I say things like this about different options. It's just that I thought about it and I thought about why it scares the bejeebers out of me. Um, when we were in Pensacola one time, um, it was the first time I had been to Pensacola, and I had gotten a beach guide, surf fishing guide, and he and Ashley were talking about various things, and one of the things that he mentioned was um, jellyfish. And I didn't really know anything about jellyfish because I'd never been around jellyfish. But Ashley had been stung before, and they talked about how bad the stings hurt and that kind of stuff. And um, anyway, the next day, all of us went out as a family in her dad's boat, and we were out playing in the water, and I saw this object in the water. And if you've never seen a jellyfish, these particular ones, it looked like a faint purple cloverleaf pattern. And I thought, well, that's cool. What's that? And I reached for it. And as soon as I touched it, I realized what it was, and I noped out of there and did not get hit. And that was enough for me. I'm like, I'm out of the water. So we went back. That was when we were on the Gulf side. So we went back to the Intracoastal Waterway side, and we were playing out there. And Ashley got stung, and she got stung good. And fortunately, her parents had a bottle of ammonia, or whatever it is that you put on those stings to help alleviate the pain. And yeah, I saw what it did to her. So I'm very cautious about getting in the salt water when it's known that there's jellyfish around, because they kind of have a season. But then you get the stingrays, and they're stingers, and they don't really attack humans, but you can accidentally step on one. Hey, Joshua, good to see you. So anyway, got a healthy fear of those. Steve Irwin helped with that. And granted, what happened to Steve Irwin was an odd. That was not. You don't expect to die from a stingray sting. You do expect to hurt like the Dickens. And anyway. So I'm a sissy when it comes to that kind of stuff. But the interesting thing about stingrays, not stingrays, sorry, jellyfish that I learned, because Travis likes to make fun of me for the amount of research I do on things. Jellyfish, there is one we'll call it a repellent. It doesn't repel the jellyfish, but it's something that you put on your skin. It's like a lotion, and the jellyfish, if it touches itself or another jellyfish, it doesn't sting, because it has receptors that push the little bitty barbs or whatever that are what they use to sting you with. And this lotion has a chemical in it that basically tells them, hey, I'm a jellyfish. But then, they can get washed off. But they also, there's very little the stinger thingamajiggies only go in very shallow, very, very shallow. So it looks like a rash when you get stung. Um, I haven't tested this theory, but the research I did said, if you touch jellyfish with the palm of your hand, it won't sting the palm of your hand. Back of your hand, if it hits that, because the skin on your palm is just a little thicker. And if you wear, they said even pantyhose may be thick enough. Not that I'm going to wear pantyhose in the ocean, but, so it doesn't have to be a lot of thickness is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I mean, I'm a contrarian. I admit it. I tend to overanalyze things and worry too much about certain things. I do love the saltwater. Um, it, I don't know how to explain it. I really believe that the saltwater is therapeutic in some way. I don't know. It's the smell. I mean, not like saltwater smells, really, but just the salt in the air or what. But I just feel so much better down there. Even more than just going to. Well, that's not going to be a very good sink or slide, is it? Even going to a different lake that I've never fished at, and having that same vacation type situation. Maybe it's the fact that we stay at her parents' house and it doesn't cost me anything. I don't know. But be that as it may. And I am so looking forward to the next time we go. It's kind of funny because actually, even before our parents had a house down there, they'd go there fairly regularly, and so even growing up, going there to her is not as big of a deal as it is to me, because it's what it's not new to her. Because I haven't been to anything saltwater since I was, I don't know, 10 or 12 years old. And even then, it wasn't to go fishing. It was just, I lived, I saw the beach and I got in the water kind of thing. Didn't, I hadn't been saltwater fishing until we went down there with Ashley. And I don't think had ever gone saltwater fishing. She didn't, fishing was not really her thing. But she enjoys going with me, and anyway. Plus, it's her parents and her siblings and stuff there. So, she's visiting with family, and I'm like, I can go fishing. Which is probably not the right way to do it, but I figure there, for her it's a family thing, for me it's a getaway. And the first time I visited, I started looking at houses down there. More dreaming than anything, because Ashley has a 12-year-old, and I don't think that we're going to be, able to leave this area, even though I mostly work from home. I'd have to get my employer on board or find a new job. She would have to find a new job. So it's, more just a pipe dream at this point. Still interesting, though. So anyway, I'm just tying rigs. If you're wondering what it is I'm looking at and doing down here, I'm just tying rigs and having a little fun. Tying rigs and tying rigs. really need to come up to find a better knot than the improved clinch for this thicker line, because it doesn't want to cinch down the way I want it to. Doesn't want to lay right and all that kind of stuff. And Ashley's parents have a bow rider boat. They don't fish from it. They don't fish really. So when I'm down there, I'm limited to bringing my own method, of transportation or fishing from the dock. Oh, and skipping back to kayaks. Hey, Wicked Weasel. Another big plus of that new canoe Unlimited over the Old Town Sportsman series, for me, for my specific situation, right, is I could buy a second hull and just leave it down there, if I got permission and all that kind of stuff, and just carry the motor and the battery. So I'd have two setups, but I wouldn't have to haul the 12-foot 8-inch kayak and, weighs close to 100 pounds by itself. 7 hours each direction every time we go. I mean, it's still 7 hours whether we have a kayak with us or not. But thanks for joining. I don't know what time that the Super Bowl starts. I remember something was supposed to happen at 5, but I don't know if that's the pregame or what. So, and I haven't watched sports much. I am rooting for the Chiefs because my ex-girlfriend, who was not into sports either, but she liked Mahomes. And so, we've watched a few Chiefs games, and I've watched one or two since then. A very interesting team to me. I joke about them being a second half team, but they really are. Every time I've seen them, it's like that first half. Often they're, trailing by a decent amount, and then somehow in that second half they just come alive. And Mahomes is just so accurate with that football, and really can see the whole field, and it's he's a remarkable quarterback. Like him or not, that's how I feel about it. Of course, like I say, I don't really watch other teams, so other teams may have as good or better quarterback. I wouldn't know. So, of course, everybody, I strongly encourage you to check out other channels that are here in the chat and other Catfish channels in general. Oh, Cindy got rained out from fishing tonight. I know they were gonna go fishing after dinner. But it's cold today. It really is cold, rainy, nasty. At least on my side of the state, I can't imagine hers is much different, especially if she got rained out. But one of the obviously I watch some other channels too, and besides catfishing or fishing in general, And one of those is Project Farm. And if you have not checked out Project Farm, he's interesting. Um, he does a lot of, comparisons of different products. And one of the things that he points out in every video is he doesn't have any sponsors. He doesn't get free items. He goes out and he buys these items and tests them. And whether you like his testing methodologies, if you think that they're perfect or not, um, he compares. He does some interesting analysis of different products, and um, I really wish he would do hooks, compare a bunch of different hooks, brands, styles, whatever. Um, I'd like to see him do fishing line, and I'd like to see him do fishing knots. I mean, fishing knots are kind of done to death, um, but not by people who have a good methodology of their testing. They go, oh, this one pulled at this part, and this, but not as technical as he gets on things. But anyway, I would encourage you to check out Project Farm if you just as a general consumer of anything, because he has some good content. If anybody wants to tell me, hey, Jody, welcome in, Pontoon Jody. If anybody wants to tell me what the difference in leader line and just a spool of mono is, other than that the spool has a much larger diameter so that you don't get all this curling, I'd love to hear the difference, because I don't know that there is one. I mean, there is a difference between different brands of line, I understand that. But what makes leader line? Because I don't spend the money for leader line, because you don't get nearly as much line for the money. And as far as I'm concerned, Trilene Big Game, while it is not the most supple line out there, yeah, I use supple. Use that word. All by myself, didn't have to look it up in a dictionary or nothing. It's got good strength. And I'd love to hear somebody tell me why I should go with one over another. Stretch? I don't know. I truly, I don't know. I mean, this is not one of those questions I'm asking so I can just turn around and go, I know the answer. I really don't know. And even if it is stretch, is it more or less stretch? Which is the right way? Because especially when you're talking about people who use 8, 10, 12-inch leaders. I mean, how much stretch do you want? How much stretch can you even get? I remember there was the one line. Oh, I don't remember. I don't know if it. I don't want to say what I'm thinking it may have been, but there was one line out there that kind of said, hey, we stretch up to 30% or something like that. We designed our line to be extra stretchy to help you with this, that, and the other in fighting a fish. I don't know. To me, line stretch is not that big of a deal. And yes, in case you can see this, extremely long tag in on this one, but I'll cut it short when I'm done. I never know exactly my right length to cut these, and I always end up cutting them anyway after I get the rig built. And the good thing, say, the 60-pound spool of trilene, 235 yards, even when it's not on sale, it's like $8, $9. A lot of line for $8 or $9. When you compare it to what people are charging for some of these leaders. Anyway. So Jody, what's going on in your world, dear? Anything exciting? Pretty sure you said you're going. Yeah, I know you're going to CatCon. How could you not, right? Um, I am looking forward to the gathering this year, and I'm trying to figure out. I'm trying to decide, I should say, whether I want to bring the boat or just the kayak. And if I had my way, if there was no Ashley to consider, I'd just take the kayak because yeah. But then that, at least for now, we do not have a kayak for her. That kind of leaves her out, and I don't want to leave her out. But then, she's going to be doing her running and stuff there, so I don't know how. Hey, I don't know. But for those who don't know, the lovely and talented Pontoon Jody took Ashley and I out on her boat and was just the most amazing host. She's better host than I am. She baited up the rods, threw the rods out, set them up. I forgot to bring any weights with me. She's let me use her weights. In addition to, some of the rigs that were on our boat already. And it was Ashley, myself, and Caitlin. I can't remember her last name. Powell was on the boat as well. So, Jody kind of assigned rods to different people, and Jody sat back and let us have all the fun. You finished third in the tournament, won $650. I didn't know you were going to be rich. Was James in the same tournament? Because if I remember correctly, and I don't know about this year, but I know typically the two of you did not fish together in tournaments. So, my first question is, did you beat him? I am very happy for you, dear. That is awesome. Not that I expected any less of you. Because I give her grief about, having out 300 rods and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes down to it, I mean, Jody, she puts in the work. And I've always known that she put in the work, ever since, the first time I saw her out there and saw, there's nobody baiting her hook for her and stuff like that. And there is no shade being thrown at anybody. I'm just going from, my own experiences with going fishing with females. Not that there aren't males that are just as bad. But, hey, can you bait my hook? Can you get my fish off? All this kind of stuff. And Jody, I always hated, especially when I was dating, to hear a woman say, I don't need no man. I was like, okay, I don't know what that means exactly, but Jody don't need nobody to do her anything for her. She launches that boat, she puts the boat up, she does it all by herself. Or, even if she goes out with somebody else, she does all her own stuff. You were with Chat Cat and you smoked him. And humble. Oh, she is so humble. I'm proud of you, dear. I'm glad to hear that you had a good outing and a good showing. And I mean, like, back to when we were out with Jody. She just, had the bait. She cut up the bait. And it kind of hurts me to say this, to admit to it, I should say. You know, manliness and all that stupid nonsense. But everybody knows that skipjack is a really good catfish bait. I had never used skipjack. She had no shortage of skipjack. And she showed me how she cuts them, how she rigs them, and all this kind of stuff, because I would not have done it the way she did. Not that I'm saying she did it wrong. I just had never thought of doing it that way. And I don't want to give away her secrets, but I was thoroughly impressed by. I'm like, I learned something that day. Not that I don't try to learn something most days, but she knows what she's doing, and I'm not surprised in the least. It was a very pleasurable experience, and she put us on fish. Ashley caught her first catfish, and Jody pretty much ruined our relationship because Ashley's first catfish was, I think, 26 pounds. Hey, Mr. Riders. And, so the bar was set. And I have taken Ashley to the bar to go dancing, and that's about it. I cannot put her on that kind of fish. I can't put me on that kind of fish. I just don't know the waters around here well enough yet. There are certain areas that would even have that caliber of fish, and that's mostly going to be the Mississippi River for me. And the Mississippi River is a beast of a river. When I first thought about it, I'm like, oh, man, there's going to be so many places to fish. The downside of the Mississippi River? There's so many places to fish. You get out in the Mississippi River and it's like, where do I even start? Just, it daunting, just overwhelming. It really was, and still is. Not that I've gone out fishing on the Mississippi that many times, but I don't know where to start. And I've talked to Creole and I looked at maps together, and we talked about some spots to look at and that kind of stuff. And I truly appreciate that. And it's just, I don't know where to start. It's frustrating. It truly is, because it's like, But the good thing that I found out is fishing with Tito. Tito is, I don't know, hour and a half away from me. And I'm going to try to pick his brain. He's been real forthcoming with information and stuff. And I'm looking forward to the weather getting a little nicer and hopefully getting out there with Tito and checking out some stuff. Because as everyone here knows, there's no shortage of people asking for your favorite spots. Hey, where's your honey hole? I've never caught a fish. There's this mud puddle in my backyard. That's where I catch my fish from. Because, and Jody has experienced this, I know, as have other YouTubers. You go fishing out there and you show where you're fishing, and even if you don't really show too much, some of the locals are going to see it and go, oh, I know where that is. And next thing you know, you can't even get to the spot you were on because other people have hijacked it. And I understand you don't own spots, but the last thing you want to do is tell somebody, where you're having good results from and then wreck it for you. Take all their buddies there. And yeah, anyway. So I'm hoping to be really nice to Tito and see if he'll take pity on me. Gigability! How you doing, Billy? Good to see you. Tell your lovely wife I said howdy. Jody, what do you got coming up on your schedule, dear? I forget when CatCon is. I know Valentine's Day is next weekend. I think CatCon is probably the following weekend. I am not going to CatCon, and it's not that I don't want to go, but it's I think 7+ hour drive from here. Then you got the hotel room bill. Then you got the parking. If you don't stay at the right hotel, you're going to pay for parking at the convention center. There's no in and out parking, so if you go out for lunch somewhere, you can pay again. Then there's the fees to get into CatCon, and all of those are manageable. The fee that is not manageable is the gas tax. Gear acquisition syndrome. Because let me tell you, I have a bad case of it. And I cannot for the life of me think of much that I need as far as fishing equipment. If you saw how much gear I had, you'd probably be embarrassed for me. I have too much. I'm a sucker for things that are on sale. I got some Spin Fisher 6500 live liners with a rod for somewhere 129 and somewhere 99 each. The reel normally goes for about 200 by itself, so I had to buy them, and then when they came back I had to buy some more. And they're spinning rods, reels, and rods, and they would be great for surf fishing. I even think they would be just absolutely excellent catfish rods or catfish reels. They're made for saltwater. They're sealed up pretty well. They are strong, and then the live liner feature is basically, and it's not just one different drag. Where you have the front drag and the back drag. So your front drag is your fighting drag, and the rear drag, and it's got 3 or 4 settings for the rear drag, 3 or 4 levels, and you can set it even more than that. You set it to a certain strength for one of them, and then the other 3 are like percentages of that, but you can change the base as well. So anyway, so it gives you the ability to use it. Yeah, sorry, I messed up the smell here. Similar to putting a bait caster with the line alarm on it, because you don't have line alarms on the spinning reels. And you can set that I forget what they call it. You can set the rear drag a lot more granularly than you can set the spool tension on the bait casters, and then you rely on the sound of the drag to let you know that you need to do something about your line. So anyway, I was really excited about those, but I'd also gotten some of the Ozark Trail saltwater reels back when they were 15 or 20 bucks, and those are some very good reels. You're not gonna get parts for them, but as far as just a good reel, they are for the money. I think I always need to add that. And that's those are rigs for saltwater for the, ouch, sorry, I just poked myself. For the 2 or 3 times a year I go saltwater fishing. And of course I got all kinds of bait caster stuff. You're driving through the tornado area. Oh, no? What tornado area? I'm sorry, I didn't realize there was tornadoes out there. I was thinking you were talking like the hurricane stuff, but I don't think that's close to you. I don't know. Hey, Nikki, good to see you. $21 and $22. What did I add? What was that? I don't remember. Oh, you did the size of your fish? You pulled a big upset? No, you didn't. I mean, they may have been upset that you beat them, but everybody else had faith in you. But, I mean, in fairness, if you were fishing Chattanooga, which is Chat Cat's, home turf, I get that. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. I realize that, not a lot going on in here, especially with the Super Bowl going on and other people being live and all that kind of stuff. But I am doing my dangest to try to get some more watch hours, get more engagement, grow my channel, standard stuff everybody else does. Last time I went live fishing, Tony made fun of the length of my leaders, and this one's a little long. That one's got to be, at least 2 feet. Oh, Lord, 30 inches. Oh, well. The saltwater, they use longer leaders, but a lot of that is actually using an FG knot and, running 10, 20 feet of line on the reel itself as well. What's real interesting to me? A lot of things are interesting to me. So, we'll skip the part about growing up on a farm and using spin cast reels all the time. And my dad actually had a spinning reel. And I didn't know how to use it. So here I am with the reel on top, and I'm reeling backwards. Because, the reel's on top, that's how it works. I think you roll it over and just, But then in my adult years, I started, when I got back into fishing, I wanted to try bass fishing. And I joined a bass club, Century Bass Club out of Dallas, Texas. And a lot of good folks there, and I liked their system. You had boaters and you had non-boaters, and, the boaters, basically they used their own boat. but there was a drawing for non-boaters. So you got paired through luck of the draw, usually with somebody different. I mean, you could, in theory, get the same guy over and over again if you just through luck of the draw. But basically, you had somebody different, and so you got to go out with somebody who fished the way they fish, right? And that I'm gonna have to explain that because it sounds stupid. Um, One of the guys was big on Carolina rigs. One of those little French fries, uh, soft plastics, Carolina. That was what he did. That was it. One guy was a really good spinnerbait guy. One guy did the chicken rig, which is basically um, instead of a Carolina rig, it's just a couple of split shots, up from the hook, and you fished it kind of like a Carolina rig. But you had people who specialized in one type of fishing. You also had the guys that would switch from spinnerbaits to worms to whatever. But you had guys that were very good at a specific technique and were so good with it that they didn't feel the need to change much. So I got to see a lot of different methods of fishing, and I got to I learned a lot. Um, but in those with that, if you asked anybody what kind of reel to get, one of the top suggestions was always going to be a Shimano Corrado. And this is, like I said, this was 20 plus years ago. Because it was a $100 reel, 120 somewhere in there. But it was a hard value to beat. It was a good quality reel. And anyway. And everybody used bait casters. The only time you'd use spinning gear was if you were using really light lures, because you couldn't cast them well with a bait caster. Your leaders are from finger to armpit length. Well, what if you got T-Rex arms? Yeah, so this one's even long. Maybe I have it tight on the swivel yet. But thank you for that rule of thumb, Jody. And in catfishing, you've got some people that, okay, so when I did the crappie fishing and stuff, well, that's spinning for the most part. They didn't have the bait casting finesse reels, and that's still a very niche market. I feel like I cast better with a bait caster. I can cast farther. I get better control, definitely better accuracy. That's my own opinion. So a lot of the catfish anglers use bait casters. No surprise there. Then you got people like Anthony J that they like their spinning gear. Scotty from Fun Fishing Adventures likes his spinning gear, and nothing wrong with that. No, again, I'm not throwing shade in any direction. But then, as I started watching people fishing saltwater, specifically down towards Pensacola in the Gulf, and they used spinning gear, big spinning gear. And when you're casting into the surf, distance is way more important than accuracy. Because you're not trying to hit a specific piece of structure necessarily. You're not trying to hit a stick-up log or anything like that, right? Or stone. You're fishing very open water. And the spinning gear, especially with using heavy weights like they do, you've got a lot more forgiveness and a lot less backlash opportunities. But what I found interesting, yeah, you knew I was going somewhere with this. Oh, and they all use braid with monoliters. That is the standard. If you get out of the Gulf and you go to the Atlantic side or out to the Pacific side, you have people that are they use baitcasters. Um, some use baitcasters and mono only. It's very interesting the differences in what different areas have as far as their preferred methodologies. So anyway, I was just talking to hear myself talk. Like, hey, Chad Thomason, good to see you. And folks, I don't normally push. Actually, I do push products. I don't push products. I tell you about products. I'm going to tell you one of my secret products right now. Has nothing to do with fishing. Does have to do with health though. Back when I was married, I drank a 2 liter plus of Diet Coke a day. That's all I drank was Diet Coke. Um, and during, I think it was our first split up, I stayed at a hotel, uh, extended stay, and they did. It was kind of an all-inclusive area, as I want to say resort because that makes it sound way more than it was. But you didn't tend to leave the area. You ate there. Um, anyway, they didn't have a Coke machine, and I was not drinking that. Pepsi, not a Pepsi fan. So I started drinking water, and I can't tell you how much improvement I've had in my health. I know that's no shock to anyone because that was way. I mean, that's way more Diet Coke than anybody would ever recommend you drink. But that's what I drank. And I'd switch to like tea in restaurants and stuff like that. Anyway, so back to the water thing, right? A lot of people don't like to drink water because it doesn't have any taste, it doesn't this, it doesn't that. Doesn't have caffeine. I've been using Mio drink enhancers. They're just a little squirt bottle of stuff. Oh, please don't use too much of it because it can be sickeningly sweet. It 0 calorie, no carb, or very little. I mean, it's an artificial sweetener in it, and it gives flavor. I use the acai berry, and I have that because it actually has caffeine in there too. So yeah, I'm not ridding myself of all of the bad parts about soft drinks, but I think it's a good product, and I like it, and I thought I would tell you about it. To the point, and one of my big reasons behind it. We all know I'm cheap. I'm not broke, I'm just cheap. There's a difference, right? Restaurants charge a ridiculous amount for tea. I mean, tea is what, a nickel a glass? They're charging you three and $4 for a glass of tea. I mean, with refills, but whatever. I just order water and put my flavoring in there, and that's what I do. To the point that, Ashley does it now. Her kids do it now. And it's not that I'm so cheap that I wouldn't, would go, hey, you need to order water. But she would see me do it, and she tried it, and she's like, we're good. Now, Memphis does have very good water quality. We sit on a sand aquifer, and the water here is just, the tap water is very good. It's not like I'm trying to cover up nasty water. It's just, water doesn't really have a flavor to it. So, I get the bigger bottle, I forget what size, but $5-6 from Walmart. And I go through one of those every week or two. So it's not, anyway. I think it's a good option if you're trying to get rid of soft drinks and stuff like that. I don't drink coffee unless I go into the office, or if Ashley makes it here or goes to Starbucks and gets it, because she's a coffee person. I think I'm just too lazy to make coffee for as little as I drink it. I'll tell you another product. Now, I am not. It's an alcoholic beverage. I am not telling people what to drink. I'm not promoting alcoholic beverages. I'm telling you about a product. Use that information as you wish. Bud Light Next is what I'm talking about. It's beer. I am not a beer connoisseur, so please don't think that, if you taste it and you think it's absolute garbage because, it doesn't fit your palate and it's not a microbrewery and blah, 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 blah. That's fine. The reason I like it, no carbs. 0. Which means less than 1, because I think that's how they can, I think it's less than 1, you can round down, or, But anyway, versus like Michelob Ultra is 2.8 or 2.9. So, if you drink 4 or 5 of those and you're doing keto, then, that kind of wipes out your carbs for the day. I'm not a heavy drinker. I accidentally found out about Bud Light Next because the distributor at the place that actually I go dance was trying to hit a quota or something, and gave him a really good deal. So I tried it because did I mention I'm cheap? Yes. Okay. So I was like, this is not bad, and while I can make as many jokes about Bud Light as the next person, I am not boycotting them. Never have. I think the boycott. You know what? I'm gonna keep my nose out of that. I'm not into boycotting products, especially not because of them choosing to send a personalized case to somebody. Whether it doesn't affect me, it just doesn't. I am. It doesn't affect me. It's absolutely not something that I support necessarily. I support their rights to. I support equal rights for all humans. But, anyway. So when everybody was boycotting Bud Light, I'm like, hey, look, beer just got cheap. And I'm not a heavy drinker either. But the Bud Light Next thing I thought was really interesting because it's hard to find, which is sad because a no-carb beer, it's the only one out there. That's it. Thank you for the hearts, whoever hearted me. That's it. I mean, a no-carb beer in a society that is looking for whatever diet options they can get to help them become healthier. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you follow keto, if you actually go and get in ketosis, I'm not talking ketoacidosis, because that's an actual medical condition that is not good. I'm talking about doing a ketogenic diet, getting to the point that your body is burning fat to get the um, calories, energy, whatever it is that it needs. And the thing I like about the keto diet, I cannot eat what I want, but I can eat as much as I want. And portion control has always been my problem. Mexican restaurants are my downfall because they bring you chips and salsa. And I love chips and salsa. I love salsa. And of course, you gotta have chips to dip in. And that's a lot of carbs. A lot of carbs. But I found that, if I've changed my eating habits some because of the keto diet. I'm not in ketosis. I haven't been in a while. But I drink a protein shake in the morning. An Atkins, I think it's even Atkins brand. And it's got a couple of carbs in it. But the protein shake gives you the sense, the protein gives you a sense of being full, which is why, meat and all that kind of stuff. You feel full versus some other items. I can eat as much salad as I want. Steak, cheese, whatever. I get the no carb fake flour tortilla wraps. They're not bad. Anyway, I'm getting all off topic. But, talk about where one of that is, trying to get healthy. I support anybody's trip or path to getting healthier. I'm not, my goal is not to be, a skinny bodybuilder. Ashley, God bless her heart. I don't even know if I'm supposed to share this number, but she told me she's lost 50 pounds. And because even when we first started dating, she was running, but she really wasn't losing weight from running. Because, a lot of it's in what you eat, and as sad as it is, women do not burn calories at the same rate men do. And I mean, I burn as many calories, according to my watch, just sitting at home watching YouTube as she does when she goes and runs 12 miles a day. For the day. Talk about unfair. But Ashley has been watching her portion control. And this is all her doing, by the way. That I support her in what she does, and I love her any way she is, but at no point is this there's some guys out there like, you need to lose weight, you need to do this. There's absolutely zero of that. I'm proud of her for who she is and what she's doing, and I support her in whatever path that is. She's been going to the gym. She's been really active in running. She's gotten, I don't want to say serious about it, but she's been doing training more than just running, right? She's doing hill intervals and things like that to make her a better runner. But she's been going to the gym and she's been working on different areas of her body. Like her arms have firmed up a lot. One of the problems when you lose weight is you tend to get saggy. I tend to get saggy. At no point am I talking about Ashley on that. But you get loose skin, and she has been really doing I am impressed by the amount of effort she has been putting into this, and it's something she enjoys doing, so that makes it a whole lot easier. And let's be honest, when it comes down to losing weight, there are two things that will absolutely, the combination of these two things will absolutely get your weight down, no matter who you are or what you're doing. Diet and exercise. Guess which two things I hate doing? So the fact that she does this is just truly amazing. I get a lot more exercise than I used to because when we go out dancing, I mean, especially when I'm a little bit lighter, like about 20 or 30 pounds lighter. I mean, I would dance the entire set, 3 sets in a row. You know, obviously 30-minute break between sets, but whatever. You know, so I would get, you know, 2.5, 3 hours of dancing in when we go out. A lot depends on what the band's playing, but do that as it is. So anyway, I'm really proud of her. And, you know, so when I talk about things that can help on the diet or on the path, I'm a really big fan of the keto diet. Whether you do the keto, whether you do the carnivore, whatever, you know, the benefit to me of the keto diet is simply I can eat as much as I want of the things I'm allowed to eat. Flour, any kind of grain is a big no-no. Flour, corn, rice, they just no. Certain vegetables are a no. Beans, for example, which we can argue legume versus vegetable. Fruits are absolutely almost no, unless it's something like avocado, which is fruit, but doesn't have the fruity goodness of fruits and fructose and stuff. And that's what it is. It's the fructose that gets you. You don't have to watch your fat intake. Well, I mean, it's supposed to, but whatever. It really comes down to the one thing I measure is my carbs. And again, I'm not pushing anybody towards anything. I'm just telling you what I've had success with. I've also found that I feel better. I don't feel as sluggish and as sluggish. And the amount of gas dropped severely. When I cut out or watch my carbs. But anyway, so the thing is, you know, if I went full keto again, that's how I'd lose weight. Right now, I'm mostly maintaining because, you know, I take some of the healthy habits, like the protein shake versus, you know, a bowl of cereal and things like that. So, anywho, I wish chat were more active, because honestly, you know, a chat is what makes the live streams good. Your engagement, both with each other and with me, it gives us topics, right? We talk about all kinds of stuff. For those who aren't aware, these are rig pullers. You get them off Temu or off Amazon or whatever. And the way they work is you just kind of, uh-oh. Well, that's some balls. Not actually the balls. So anyway, rig pullers are good for that, especially with braid. Give me a second. Let me go over to my computer and answer. What did we go live? So give me a minute. I will be back close. joys of multi-factor authentication and timeouts and stuff. I couldn't even get him the answer I wanted without using my phone, which I can't really do. So, oh well. Be that as it may. Thank you, Gig. I wear shorts all the time. I'm one of those people that always wear shorts. My reason being, I tend to sweat a lot, and my jeans will stick to my knees, or my thighs and my calves. So bending my knees becomes problematic. I like the freedom of movement. Plus, I went through 50 years of my life thinking that cotton was a cool fabric. And you know that cotton was what made you know was a good breathable blah 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 blah, and that polyester was Satan's own spawn. Come to find out, polyester keeps you cool. It wicks moisture better and all this stuff, whereas cotton hangs on to that stuff. So I do definitely. I used to always wear like Hanes or Fruit of the Loom t-shirts, not undershirts, just t-shirts. I also used cotton undershirts. I tend to sweat a lot. Hyperhidrosis, what do you call it? So I found out about these. These are from 32 Cool or something like that, 32 degrees. They're lightweight polyester, and then these shirts, they keep me a whole lot cooler. They keep me a lot more comfortable. Like I say, they don't hold on to the moisture as much. They let everything breathe. I couldn't believe I was in my 50s before I realized this. That's what you get for believing everything you hear in ads, right? You know, no matter how much line I take off, I always think it's too short. Then when I get it cut, it's too long. Had any sense that I actually just, cut a bunch of different pieces of the same length and go from there. So, Gig, I have a question for you, my friend. I asked it earlier, and I don't think you were here then. And anybody who may know the answer. What is so darn special about leader line? Like specific line sold specifically as leader line versus just using mono? I mean, is there really any difference? Is it just that it's a much larger diameter spool, so it doesn't do this as much? What is it? Because leader line is so much more expensive than just mono. And one of the things that one of those tips I'll share about mono. So everybody has had an issue at some point with line memory. Where it wants to stay coiled up and wants to stay in the position it was. You can, heat up hot water, or heat up water, so it becomes hot water, and put the spool in there, and that will help relax the line some. There's another method, and this is really good for if you've had mono on a reel for a long time, just kind of, sitting there not the mono is still fine. It just is extra curlicued. Yeah, see, I'm using trilene big game, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to understand if it's just a marketing gimmick that, oh, this is leader line, because I can't figure out what it is. Um, but what you can do, so you've got 150, 200 yards of line on your reel, and other than it coiling up all the time when you cast it out, or maybe even creating wind knots or whatever can because of the memory. Go and tie it to a tree or something. Tie it to one end. Let out a whole bunch of line and just kind of stretch it, and that will straighten it up. That will make it relaxed and all that fun stuff. Make it much easier to deal with, and so you don't have to worry about spooling a reel up again and all that kind of fun stuff. And if you do get a lot of wind knots on your spinning reel, it's usually because you have too much line on the reel. I'm bad about overfilling my reels. You made it home, just got to drop the boat and unload the car. How's the, if I may ask, and it's none of my business, how's the house going? Jody? You have used 100-pound main, yeah, for leaders. A lot harder to tie, and the knots were not as neat in the leader line. That's fair. So more supple or whatever. Hey, Glacier Shark. Yeah, I'm just sitting here rigging up a bunch of stuff, and boy, you got two people looking at it already? That is nice. Yeah, in markets, when the market was hot here, it was really hot here, they wouldn't list them until Friday. It'd be sold by Monday. And they wouldn't list them until Friday, and the reason was they wanted to get as many offers in as they could, and they could use the weekend as an excuse of, well, they're not looking at offers until Monday. They're out of town. I don't know. Come up with any kind of excuse, like trying to have as many offers as they could, competitive offers. And it was very interesting, how they would, because when you're the seller, you think, well, hey, you just go with the highest bid, right? Highest offer. Then you got to consider about whether it's an FHA loan versus a conventional, or the likeliness of the person getting approved, or all kinds of stuff like that. So I don't envy you. When Ashley and I consolidate households, I'm not looking forward to selling. I'm still debating on whether to sell mine or rent it out. I don't know. Let's see. Whisker-faced fish. They will. I have tied so many leaders that I have never used. I didn't have a good. I had not until now. I've not had a good way to manage them. I tried the pool noodle trick and all that kind of stuff, but still, even though you get the hooks set in there, you got the leader line, and the leaders would still get snagged on each other, and just made it all frustrating. So, and then I did some where I used where I crimped them, but I don't like the crimps, at least not this style of crimp where the hook runs free. For a circle hook, you miss out on the trigger action. I don't like that stuff. So I'm going to rip those apart, reuse and redo those. But what I have found that I like, these are 4 mil thick baggies. I got them off Amazon. They're 3.5 arms, like 3x5 inch, which that gives me, if I wanted to use a peg float in there, I could do that. If I want to use Santee rigs, but that gives me the ability to put the rig in the bag with whatever accoutrements I want to put, and the 4 mil thick makes it. I mean, the hook can still easily pop through there, but not to the degree that it will with the cheap 2 mil bags. Pink foam insulation boards. How do you keep the other end of the leader from fighting with other leaders on the board, if that makes sense? Because I tried the little foam pieces, little EVA foam pieces that are made to do that, but nothing really worked the way I wanted it to. So what I'm doing with these, I'll show you here just a second. So I write on there size of the hook, pound test line. The S is for saltwater. Basically just means it's a non-offset hook. Because a lot of the saltwater regulations are requiring, for specific species at least, that you use non-offset circle hooks. So these can of course be used in the freshwater environment, no problem. It's just knowing my offsets for my non-offsets. I throw sinker slide in there, a bead. Use these little silicone beads. I like those a lot. I feel like they protect the knot better, and they don't slam into it with the with hard plastic versus the softer silicone. And then these I'm going to sort by what they are, and then put them in like a Ziploc bag. Or I could put them in one of those soft plastic binder things or whatever. It just gives me, I just think this is going to be kind of a way to go. I talked about these before, but I'll talk about them again in this slide. So I got these off Temu. I know Freddie also sells a version of these. And I like these rattles. So they have the little rattles in them. Whether rattles help or not, I'm not going to argue. I don't know. But the fins on them, they're not straight, they're angled. And I feel like that's going to make them turn better in the water versus the other rattles that people use that are supposed to spin, but I'm not sure what makes them spin. I also saw some Catfish rigs on Temu, and I thought this was interesting. I don't know what the right way is. I always assumed that, you'd run it through here, through the bulleted end, and then, have the rest of your rig down here, whatever, down to the hook. But they have it the opposite way. So that your hook could be down on the bottom, but it's the blunt side. And I thought about it, and one thing that I think that would help with is, so especially if you run it down at the hook, this way, if the fish chomps in, that's just going to kind of push it up. Whereas this way, they're gonna get the sharp pointy part of the fin. I don't know. I don't know. I know I've said a lot of words and then ended it with I don't know. But I got these off Temu. Um, Brokeback. Oh, come on, man. Yes, I am different. Let me go back. We got a lot of words in here. Let me start reading again. Big foam insulation, catfish rigs he won't use. That sounds... Catfish rigs? Anyway, thank you, Gig. There's about that long hook. One end, and the loop, and nice squish in the foam. Okay, that's fair. Let's see. Evening, Bob. Good to see you. So, Bob, how do I explain this? So I act differently in different chats. If you've noticed that, like Jody's chat, I know Jody is a very, as far as prim and proper goes in the catfish meet, she's just prim and proper. She doesn't like a lot of cussing. She doesn't like a bunch of flirting and weird, just stuff. That's what she wants for her channel, and I think we all want something specific for our channels, right? I tend to push the envelope a little bit in other people's chat. Just I try to be engaging. I try to make it fun. I don't try to be a prick. Sometimes it happens. Oh no, I understand. Yeah, I could use some of the beads to push the rattle up. It's just a lot of this is just thinking out loud. So Bob, it comes down to what I want from my channel, right? And I very much try to provide what other people want in their channel. Like anything as possible. I'm not gonna, I don't use, I don't make a lot of the jokes that come into my mind. And the same goes for Jody. I heard somebody talking about what they wanted for their channel. And one of those things was, like Kenneth Powell passed away a couple of years ago. And his daughter can go watch his videos anytime she misses him, right? And it brings that legacy, what do I want to leave behind? And what do I want for my channel? So I'm gonna try really hard not to name names. I will name one, Dobson's explicit channel. I don't want my channel to be like that. I'm not saying anything about him and how he got that. His channel is what he wants it to be, and I want what I view as success is being there for the masses, right? Right. You want every video to get 20 minutes. Absolutely. But that's not what motivates any of us, I don't think. Sure, we would all like to, get rich off of YouTube. But what it takes to get to be successful on YouTube, a lot of us are just not willing to do. I'll give you an example. Every week when I go into YouTube Studio, it gives me this whole weekly recap of what people watched and everything. There is one video that is number one almost every week. I know that that content is what people want. That's what's getting me my audience. That's what's getting the most views, the most watch time. And it's a review video of products. And I like to review products. But because I'm a budget-oriented angler, I tend to buy stuff on clearance, which doesn't help people who are wanting to go buy that item because it's discontinued, the new version's out, the whatever. I mean, I wish they still made the Ozark Trail saltwater reels because those were some awesome reels for the price on clearance. Of course, they wouldn't have been 15 or 20 bucks instead of 60 or 80 bucks if they weren't on clearance. And I wouldn't have paid 60, 80 bucks for them. I'd have spent a little more and gone with pin. So, there's pros and cons there. People like my PC Fun teardowns. They liked my comparison of the big one for me is the comparison of the Fluger reels. And I actually have another one in the series, and I need to do that video. I need to remake that video. Not because of the views, but because of more information, right? I make jokes about a popular channel because it's like, how many videos are you going to have on how to tie a polymer knot? Here's a new, there's no new information. It's just another video doing the exact same thing. And I don't want to be that guy. I also want to get sponsorships. And that's another multi-headed beast. 19 of the Chaos 50 reels. Brokeback Bob, thank you for existing, sir, because now I don't feel so bad about my gear acquisition syndrome. I actually sold several PC Fun Chaos reels last year at the Gathering for a good price. But that, not because I don't like the reels, but because I had found some Abu Garcia 6500s on special for like 65 bucks. And you can't not buy them at 65 bucks, $150 riffs. I can't do it. So I had too much stuff. I still have way too much stuff. And I bought 2 more rods and reels today. I don't know how to go about being sponsored, which is weird because I used to be pro staff 20 years ago for some companies, but that was through their area rep that repped for all of these companies. I see, I'll use Catfish as an example. So when I was doing my research on the Old Town Sportsman series, they had very clearly, beyond the shadow of doubt, given away a number of kayaks. And every review was glowing. Catfish, who when I watched the video, I thought, boy, this guy does not know how to not shoot himself in the foot. He talked about some negatives about the kayak. I respected him for it. Because he wasn't out there just pushing whatever product was there, right? Now, he wasn't overly harsh on it. He didn't, mock the product or anything like that, but he pointed out some things that just were wrong. One being, the big one being the plastic gear tracks. And, if you're going to be using Catfish gear, you don't want plastic gear tracks. And on a kayak that costs $4,500 to $5,000, why do you have plastic gear tracks? You would take the PC Fun over the Abus. I don't know how to respond to that, Bob. The reason being, and I've got a Chaos sitting right here on my desk. I have nothing bad to say about these. I've heard other people that have not had them, not had as positive of an experience with them as I have. They're very good for the price. But if you put an Abu Garcia 6500 Catfish Special right next to this one and said, which one are you going to buy for $60? There's no question. And I like my PC Funs. I truly do. I mean, the big giant handle. Good. Love that handle. Oh, it's so beautiful. I don't necessarily care for how the clicker engages. I wish it was more of a, I don't know. It feels kind of cheap from the outside. But, I mean, it sounds good. It's got very decent drag. There's not a lot bad. I mean, it's not a bad reel. But getting parts for them and such, Abus seem to feel mostly unchanged for years and years and years. I like the thumb bar, or the thumb bar versus the button that the PC Fun 6500 or the PC Fun Chaos 50 has. The 60 has the button. And I absolutely hate the little flip thing, but my Abu 7000 has a little flippy thing. So, it's how it comes, what you get, right? I do like the thumb bar. And I like PC Fun reels. I am excited to catch a big fish on the Alios 400s that I have. I bought a couple of the Alios 300s because they were significantly cheaper than the 400s. But the 300 does not have the line capacity, and it doesn't have the clicker. And I love clickers. Just how I am. I think those 300s are going to be good in saltwater for good accuracy with the bait caster. I'm looking forward to using them. But those 400s, man, I want to catch a good fish on them. I want to have a good fight because I think they are going to be just monstrous successes. I truly do. I like a low profile bait caster so much more than a round bait caster. Again, that's bass fishing. That's what I learned on was the low profile bait casters. I bought those Ozark Trail saltwater reels. Again, $15, $20, depending on the size. I don't know if I've used them more than a handful of casts. And it's sad because they're good reels. They really are good reels. The best I can figure is they are made by, I believe, Tsunami. I'm trying to remember because Tsunami is the brand name, or Tsunami, that's the brand name. They're not, I can't find a direct comparison, but the Tsunami Shield, I think it was the step down from the Shield, which was still a $70, $80, $90 reel. And I think that they changed very little and made it the Ozark Trail reel. And what I love about it, it's got 13 seals. 13, that's like this many plus that many to keep the water out. Um, Now, parts availability is nil. Understood that going in. I actually bought a couple extras because like, well, one more breaks, I got a parts reel. But they are just amazing. Oh, I don't have an agenda. I don't know what my agenda is anymore. Um, I appreciate the interaction, and I said that earlier. Um, Glacier Shark, sorry, I missed the comment. You had someone send you some really questionable lures to review. You know, I heard someone recently at a fishing expo, they were going by this booth and showing different products and everything. This dragon weight is the best dragon weight out there. That was it. There was no because and the Species Fun Chaos 60, the Chaos XS 60. I like it. It was not given to me. I paid for it. If it had been given to me, it still would not be the best bait caster reel on the market. I'm sorry. When they're $1,000 bait casters, the $60 reel is not the best. Um, you lose all credibility with me when you say something is the best. Um, it can be the best for you. But the best is such a absolutely strange combo of both subjective and objective. Um, this pair of crimpers that I got off the team, and I don't remember how much I paid for them. They're a good set of crimpers for the price. They're not the best crimpers on the market. Um, and I can't bring myself to sell my opinion. Um, I mean, I'll sell anything, but I won't sell y'all short. If that makes sense. My reputation is far more valuable. I saw a guy on Facebook that he started this group, um, and of the great fishing deals he finds on Amazon. And then I started looking at his deals, and he posted like, I don't know, 50 of them in one day. They weren't really deals. What they were affiliate links. And I have no problem with affiliate links. No problem at all. But if I'm going to tell you to go buy the PC Fun Chaos XS50, 60, sorry, and tell you what a great reel it is, and PC Fun's site has it for $65 and Amazon has it for $50, I'm going to tell you to go to Amazon. If Walmart had it for $40, I tell you to go to Walmart. It's not about how much money I can make off of you buying this reel. It's you getting a reel, you saving money, and you enjoying that reel. And if you don't like this reel, if this reel is a complete piece of crap when you get it, you're going to remember that I'm the SOB that told you to go buy it. My reputation is not for sale. My good looks are. So that is the problem with wanting to be sponsored. I looked at one company, and I actually applied to be an influencer for them. Don't know how it's going to work out. one of the things is, you can't say anything bad about our products. You can't say anything bad about our company. And I'm like, no, hang on. How does that work? I mean, here's a 4 mil bag. If you sell 4 mil bags, they don't. But if you did, and I was telling you, what I use them for, and then, the hooks can actually poke through these because they can. You're going to need a lot thicker plastic for them. Am I not allowed to say that? Am I supposed to only say positives? Look, they're 4 mil bags. They do a really good job for what I use them for. They are not something you could use to build a parking garage out of. I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little frustrated here. Gigability, you say that about $1,000 reels, and there's a guy that I watch that is on the Gulf Coast, and I like him, and I like his content. He would use, I can't remember the name of the reels, really nice spinning reels, but they're like $800 or $900. So I'm just sitting there going, I can't relate to you, sir. I can't relate to you and your $800 reels. There is a point where you hit the wall of diminishing returns, right? Is a $40 reel twice as good as a $20 reel? Probably. An $80 reel twice as good as 40, maybe. $160 reel twice as good as an $8 reel? 320 over 160? 640 over 320? I mean, at some point, yes, it's a little better, but it ain't twice as good. So you hit that point of diminishing returns. And when I'm sitting here talking about my Spin Fisher 6 reels, they're nice reels. Slammer's a nicer one. I'd like to have the Slammers. I don't, because they're more expensive. And there's a point of Van Staal. That is it. You hit it right on the head. That Van Staal. That's the one. Now, for catfishing gear, or any kind of set rig gear, right? Weight is not as important. If you're going to cast that out and it's going to be sitting there for 30 minutes and you're not holding the rod, doesn't matter how much the rod weighs to a degree, right? So fiberglass is stronger it's stronger than graphite for the way the rods are built, right? I don't have a better way of saying that. I'm sure if you put as much graphite into a rod as they put fiberglass for the same weight, that maybe they would be similar, but that's not why you buy a graphite bag. You buy it for lightweight. So, my Uncle Lou's rods, love them, love them, love them. But they're not the thinnest, they're not the lightest out there. But I don't need the thinnest or the lightest. I want something that's going to be pulling those fish in. I mean, the kind of fish Jody catches, not the kind I catch. There's only so many bluegills that you need to catch. Medium heavy action bait caster. Anyway, where was I going with that? I often use the example. So these are cannonball weights, 6 ounce. I got these from Brad Caudill. I don't know how you pronounce his name. Doesn't matter. I buy my weights from him. I buy them from him because he has really good prices. He uses the same do-it molder, whatever brand mold. Same eyes, right? Buys 10 different people could make the same cannonball, right? Very similar in quality and all that good stuff. But I buy from Brad because the quality is absolutely very decent and the prices are very good. Hey, nobody. I appreciate you dropping off a like, nobody. Good to see you, my friend. Um, and then there's this bank casting that says China on it. I mean, I mean, 12 different companies can make the same thing, and it's the same thing, and then it comes down to price for me. Um, I will say, like I say, I love my Uncle Lou's rods. I've got some of the anvil rods. Guess why I got the anvil rods? Because they were on clearance at half price. They're extra heavy power. Um, they're bright. They shine good. They show up good on the screen. Travis and Cindy turned me on to them because they had gotten some on clearance as well, and they were $50 a piece. And I was like, I've got to pay shipping. I need to get 4 of them because make the shipping all work out. I like those rods. I don't know what you can do to improve those rods. Again, lumping Uncle Lou in the same category, right? I don't know what you can do to improve a rod enough to get me to pay twice as much money as I do for this. I can't. There's nothing wrong with them. The weight is the one issue that I could possibly have, but they're also strong rods. I will say that the gathering last year, I got to touch some of Freddie's. That didn't come out right. The Freddie double Y rods, he had some with him, and I got to, I got to lay hands on it and touch and feel them and all that kind of stuff. And I was amazed at how light they are. I mean, they are graphite. I was amazed at how much backbone they had. They were really nice rods. I felt kind of stupid for not getting a couple. But I wasn't sure where they fit into my arsenal at the time. They're really nice rods. Whoops, sorry. Keep my tripod. And they're not bad prices. I mean, they're, I don't know, $80 or so, I think. But last year at this time, I did not know where they would fit into all of my gear. For a kayak, I think they would be awesome. But they are shorter rods, and they're shorter rods because double Y is for yaks and youth. So they are shorter rods. They're not going to get the casting distance that your 27-foot rods are going to get. I understand that. Anyway, I was very impressed with what I'm trying to say. Yeah, graphite sensitivity. Sure, Billy, absolutely. Graphite is a more sensitive, and that's great if you're holding a rod. If you are looking at a fish that is just going to take the bait and go, it doesn't matter. What the sensitivity matter when the rod's going to get doubled over by the fish? Let's talk about Temu for a minute. I think it's actually Temu, but it's Temu to me. It's always going to be. I'm getting frustrated with it. I think when I first started, my beads, these came from Temu. Temu. There's some hooks from Temu. Floats from Temu. I'm not anti-Temu. I'm all about saving money. However, I've been looking at a lot of things lately on there. I've been looking at a lot of different products, right? Everything from truck racks to training wheels for my kayak, little outriggers. And I've found that on some of this stuff, Amazon is the same or lower. And that blew my mind. center pin. Not sure what a center pin is, but it's out of my price range. It doesn't even have a drag. Well, I guess technically fly reels probably don't either. Made to spin free and allow a float to drift naturally. I don't know what any of that means. I mean, I can free spool any reel. I don't know. Anyway, Timo, the prices have. You got to know what you're getting. You need to research what you're looking at, and the number of promos that they have, and hey, you can get 3 free gifts, but you got to order $400 worth of stuff from us. I hate that. Just tell us what it is. Just all I want to know is what the price is. How much is it going to cost me? Don't do these stupid animated graphics stuff. And I think that the reason they're doing it, I think they're trying to keep engagement. I don't know if they're trying to get more funding or sell the company or what, but I think it's one of those things we go, our stickiness, our customers come back and they spend so many minutes per visit here and drive that kind of metric. But boy, it's frustrating. Because it's like, you can get this. All you have to do is jump through 12 hoops. And it's time limited. I'm like, look, I don't go buy $400 worth of anything on a whim. An Islander Sea Run. The steelhead deserve the best. Well, see, trout are different fish, though, right? Trout are not set it and forget it and don't care if you get 500-pound test line on them. Trout are some finicky little words that I can't say. And see, now, don't get me wrong on this expensive stuff. That's fly reel. There you go. I mean, if you got the money and it serves as the purpose you need, more power to you. I'm just saying, when you're sitting there with a Van Staal reel and I don't spend that kind of money on gear. I'm not bragging. I hate to even say it this way because it sounds like I'm bragging, and there's nothing here to brag about. But it's not that I can't spend that kind of money on gear. It's that I don't see the value. And value is extremely important to me. I need to know that I'm not getting snookered. I will pay good money for good equipment if there's a reason to. If it does something that I need, that nothing else, that I can't find. I love my Daiwa reels, my Daiwa spinning reels. I think they are awesome. I could find cheaper reels. I think that the ones I use, the Regal LTs, I think that there's a lot of value in the $60 that they cost versus the Shimano Sienna at 20 or 30. I think that there's enough extra value. features, whatever you want to call it. I think there's enough reason to pay more money for them. Sorry, my smell notes just went sideways on me. So I am not against paying for good equipment. It's just at some point, like I said, you hit the law of diminishing returns. I mean, if I were to go buy a Chevy Silverado truck, for instance, I would not get the Denali. I don't see enough increase in value. And I don't think that my opinion would change if I had Jeff Bezos kind of money. I mean, I probably would because I'd have somebody else driving it, but I just there's certain things that I just need to see the value. Oh, I'm not saying that Van Staal is a bad reel. They are apparently the Cadillac of reels. Where I'm going, I'm just saying that there's a law of diminishing returns, and it does not. It does not do better. It does not do enough things better than what a $200 reel would do. So on these 100-pound leaders, I've decided I'm going to do that improved snell on the hook side because I want the action and all that, but I am going to crimp on the swivel just because I don't have a good knot for line this thick, and even with 60-pound line, that the improved clinch knot is a pain in the butt to tie. But I also used to think that tying any kind of knot on 60-pound mono was a pain. Yeah, you think so. You go get you some 100-pound, and then you'll be going, ooh, 60-pound is nothing but supple and limp and the greatest things that sliced barracudas. But see, I don't fish the way you do, Glacier. That's why I say things like the Van Staal doesn't have the value for what I use it for. If they wanted to hand me a freebie, I would not say no. I'm just saying that I wouldn't. I don't see the need. I don't see a reason for me to spend that kind of money on a reel, especially when I can't catch any fish. Now, an example of well, I'm still having problems doing this one, but looking at beach carps. So for those who have not been to the Emerald Coast area of Florida, I don't know. I mean, I'm not an expert on sand anywhere, but the sand in North Florida on the Gulf side is, I've heard it called sugar sand. In any case, that stuff it's a very fine sand. So when you try to drag a normal wagon over it, the wheels are useless. They just become, you're basically dragging them through the sand because it's not hard pack. It's just fluffy. So they make balloon wheels specifically for that kind of environment. And when I look at beach fishing carts, the Angler Fishing Mate is one of the big ones, big brands out there. There are some that are more expensive, but you're going to pay $350-400 for one of their good carts, for one of their carts that has those balloon tires. And I've tried to find something less expensive that is just as good, and I haven't been able to find anything that I think is comparable enough at enough of a lower price. So I think if I ever do get to the point that I buy a beach cart, I think that's what it's going to be. And I'll list that under the buy once, cry once moniker. And, when I was a kid, I had a pond. I went fishing pretty much, I'd say every day. And it was just, it was bluegill in my pond or catfish if I was in the neighbor's pond. And I went through several Zebco 202 reels. I was upgraded to the 404, and also wore those out. Tried some of the less expensive Johnson reels at the time, and likewise, they didn't hold up to the amount of fishing I did. But these were $5 reels, so please don't misunderstand me here. I was going somewhere with this conversation. I apologize. So I understand, quality is not cheap. And there are some things that if you want something good, you're going to have to pay for it. I recently bought a Nissan Titan. I've been looking at these from afar since they were released back in, I want to say 2004. I may be wrong about the year. Because they towed as much or more than any other half ton on the market at the time. And Nissan had announced that this is 2024 actually was the last year for the Titan. And I actually almost bought one. When was it? April of 21, I think. They were doing $4,000 rebates at the time. The dealers were basically, it was going to be $10,000 off MSRP. And yeah, that was when it was. I found out that I was losing my job, that my position was being eliminated. And that made me hold off. And I talked to my girlfriend at the time, and she's like, even though I didn't expect to be out of work very long, and I had, a slush fund, I didn't want to take on that extra financial burden at the time. And my girlfriend was like, yeah, it's 10,000 off this month. It'll be 10,000 off next month. And that was literally when everything dried up. When they went from discounting vehicles to there's a shortage on everything because of COVID, and we're going to charge more than MSRP. So I was like, well, that's just that end of story. So anyway, and I've been wanting to get a truck ever since I got the boat, like, because anyway, And then when I found out this was going to be the last year, I was like, well, it's now or never. And I got, I want to say close to 10,000 off of MSRP. They were already cheaper than a Ford, Chevy, or Ram. And I am not, I'm a Chevy guy in general, but there's not that level of brand loyalty with me. And there's nothing that vehicle can't do that I need it to. And especially when I looked at the problems Chevy is having in some of their engines, and this Nissan, it was the last naturally aspirated V8 without nonsense like cylinder shut off and all that garbage. So that was a selling point to me, right? I don't know that it's as nice of a truck as some of the Chevys and the Fords or the Rams, depending on which brand you like. I don't care. But again, I think I was going with quality somewhere. These trucks are, they have a really good reputation. I understand Nissan does not have a great reputation. I understand that completely. I actually had an Altima and traded it in on the truck, and while I didn't have any problems with my transmission, with my CVT, there is not a mechanic you can talk to out there that doesn't tell you that, oh my God, do not get a CVT from Nissan. And it was always weighing on me. And so, they all worked together to get me into a truck. And I don't know. I have never had a vehicle. Let me make sure I qualify this correctly. Yep. I have never had a vehicle with leather seats. Still don't. A lot of people really like leather seats. So I'm just a value-oriented guy, is what I'm saying. There are things that I am willing to spend money on, and there are things aren't. And I hope to love this truck for a long time, and there is a very, very good chance that the resale value will absolutely tank on them. Because, one, they're not made anymore. Two, they never sold well. Three, Nissan is having some real problems. But it has a 5-year, 100,000-mile warranty, bumper to bumper, or something like that. Anyway, I'm not opposed to spending money, but there has to be value there for me. And for me, this truck had that value. And yeah, I realize I'm droning on and on. You have the GMC 1500. So one of the things that really bothered me about shopping for trucks is, like I said, there was no brand loyalty to Nissan on this. End of story. There just wasn't. I made to get an extra $1,500 off of it because of Nissan loyalty. But I tried comparing it with other trucks, and Nissan was ungodly simple. They have one powertrain. This engine, this transmission. You don't like it, then you're not getting that truck. Whereas Chevy, Ford, I don't know about Ram because I never could get close enough to Ram to care. But you try shopping for a truck and you're like, I'm a price shopper. And so I would see, some advertising, some online ads for the Chevy, and then come to find out it's a 4-cylinder. Like, I'm not towing with a 4-cylinder. I don't care how many turbos you put on it to make it do this, that, and the other. And it was so hard to comparison shop because there were so many powertrains. To me, I'm I'm an old geezer. You want to tow, you tow with a V8, right? And their big V8, NHTSA just recently opened an investigation on their big V8 because of the number of complaints of, I think it's a rod bearing failure that leads to, you know, a rod through the side of the engine. Now, granted, you know, that sounds really bad, right? I mean, the Chevy has not, or GM has not, you know, admitted that there's a problem. They've not done a voluntary recall, and NHTSA had to get involved. And then, you know, how many of these engines are out there? So it's in their trucks, it's in their big SUVs, the whole 9 yards. So it is not, you know, an engine with only a few people. It's like 37 or 38 complaints. So I don't know what's actually going to happen. I will tell you, I don't believe in turbos. I believe in turbos. I know they exist. I think that I don't think that engines with turbos last as long as engines without turbos. I think that there's extra stress put on the motor. I think there's extra maintenance involved. The selective cylinder shutoff nonsense, I don't get that either. I really don't get that auto start stop at you know, traffic lights. I can't. No, that's just too much newfangled for me. You got to go sell your fish from yesterday. Look at you catching fish and rubbing my nose in it. Good to see you, Glacier Shark. I'm glad you came in. I appreciate your support. Thanks for putting up with me rambling. I've got some stuff I need to do before my weekend gets away from me. Anyway, thank you everybody for watching. I truly appreciate it. Thank you, every one of you. And I appreciate the support you show me, and love watching you guys out there and chatting with you and everything. So thanks for coming in, and thanks for helping me grow. Have a good night, folks.